Welcome to another week of discussion and dialogue on the African continent. Now, in a special episode this week, we feature a high-level panel discussion on business in Africa hosted at the Coca-Cola headquarters here in Nairobi. Now, 4 CEOs heading some of the most dynamic companies in Africa share their thoughts on business and opportunity on the African continent. You get to have your say as well. And of course, we have Africa's top 10. You're watching the Africa Leadership Dialogues. I'm Julie Gichuru. On our business panel this week, we host Joseph Ogutu of Safaricom, Titus Naikuni of Kenya Airways, Nakumatt's TRM, and Nsarkoh of Unilever. Let's get their views on business and the potential of the African continent, but first, their profiles.
Safaricom Limited is a Kenya-based company engaged in the provision of mobile phone services, fixed-line wireless telecommunication, internet and data services, and much more. Joseph Ogutu is the Director, Strategy and Innovation Division at Safaricom. He is also chairman of Safaricom Foundation and sits in the board of Teams Limited. Ogutu has had a dynamic career in the telecommunications industry spanning more than 25 years. With a history that spans 3 centuries, Unilever company has grown significantly into a global business powerhouse. Nsarkoh is the managing director of Unilever East and Southern Africa. He joined Unilever Ghana as a management trainee 20 years ago and now oversees the company's operations in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. Kenya Airways, the national airline of Kenya, has grown over the past 3.5 decades into the pride of Africa. Titus Naikuni is the group's managing director and chief executive. Titus holds a Bachelor of Science honors degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Nairobi. Nakumatt Holdings Limited is East Africa's leading supermarket chain established in 1987. Mr. Ramamurthy, or TRM as he is popularly known, is the Regional Strategy and Operations Director at Nakumatt Holdings. He has close to 4 decades of experience and has carved a niche in East and Central Africa as brand positioning strategist and business turnaround chief architect.
Today, Joseph, I want to start with you and the amazing Safaricom success story, in particular, M-Pesa, which of course has changed the lives of so many people in Kenya, but it's making waves globally. And I was saying to Joseph earlier, if you go to any forum, whether it's World Economic Forum, whether you're in Japan, and he was there recently, everybody's talking about Safaricom and M-Pesa and what has been achieved. So what's your perception of the African opportunity, Joseph?
The M-Pesa started 6 years ago, and it started as a stickiness product. We never saw it at that time as a service that would really be a big revenue earner. So 6 years ago, in March of 2007, we launched the product. And again, the expectation was that in the course of the year, we'll perhaps be happy to do 500,000 in terms of numbers that subscribe to the service. But what actually happened, we had to review our target within 3 months. And we review again. So by the end of the year, we already had 1 million people subscribing to the M-Pesa service. Now, since then, to today, we actually have 17 million people using M-Pesa. And therefore, talking about the African opportunity then, I think Africans are growing and they desire the very best that is available in the world. So because we have a growing population, we have young people who know exactly what is going on in the rest of the world. Our people are now able, A, to innovate, and B, to adapt very, very quickly. And that's the opportunity that is there in Africa.
Innovation and
Yes.
adaptation.
Yes.
And so interesting, if you look at the M-Pesa story, this was happening at a time when American telcos were investigating the opportunities in Africa and decided to hold back because they didn't think there was an opportunity worth pursuing. Right. And yet look at what has been accomplished, even just with Safaricom, without even going further to look at other companies across the continent. Let's come to you, Titus, and the need. And for so long, the challenge was making it from one side of the African continent to the other without having to go through Europe or the Middle East. And here's Kenya Airways, serving a need. But what has your experience, what has this journey been like for you? What's the greatest potential? What are the greatest challenges?
Very interesting. If I just take you back to Africa, say about 30 or so years ago, we never had convertible currencies in various countries. It was very difficult for you to access dollars or pounds or whatever. And that limited your movement in terms of moving from one country to the other. Second thing was to access a passport. You know it very well, Julie. You had to know some big man somewhere in government. The next thing is TV. The whole access to TV was only limited to a few blessed ones, if I may call them blessed ones. But things changed. And it was very easy for you to access foreign currency. In fact, right now, the only two countries that you have a difficulty in accessing foreign currency, about three of them is Malawi, Ethiopia, and interestingly, South Africa. The manufacturing sector also collapsed in Africa. So what then happened is that people started getting CNN and so forth and seeing what is happening in the rest of the world. You got a passport, you got foreign exchange, and you have a desire to move out. And it's that desire that drove us Kenya Airways to go in and start opening up Africa. And it's amazing because I remember 10 years ago, people in Africa had no clue of what was the Far East or what China was. The only China we knew was the CNN China. And if you look at it now, it has grown from nothing to about 600,000 passengers a year going into China from Africa. And that's the opportunity that we saw ourselves and decided to move in. And it has made things much, much easier and also opened up trade within the regions. If you look, if I just take the East African region, people are now able to move, say, from Kigali into Mombasa to go and clear their goods in the morning, and by afternoon they're back in Kigali.
Transforms business.
Completely.
What's been the biggest challenge, Titus?
The biggest challenge is what I think a lot of people here may not understand, and it's the politics. We're a very politicized industry. It's amazing because if you have a bus that is registered, say, in Kenya, and you have the right insurance, you can cross the border into Tanzania or Uganda without asking some government official for permission. But if I take the passengers from the buses, the same passengers, and put them into an aeroplane, and say, look, I want to go and land in Entebbe by lunchtime, I am not allowed to do that unless the two governments have signed what is called bilateral air services agreement. Mm-hmm. And those agreements take donkey's years to be finalized.
I think this is an issue Mo Ibrahim raised when he was building up this network for Africa, and it's interesting. We'll perhaps come back to how to resolve some of the challenges. TRM, let me come to you now, and the Nakumatt experience, and this really is your corner shop success story almost. Really humble beginnings to what it is today. How have you made this journey? What lessons can people take from the Nakumatt story?
When you want to position in the formal sector, and you have to look at what kind of a positioning I can take which is sustainable going forward in the next 40, 50 years. So the owner had the gut feel, and I will position this way with one slogan, which is very easy for common man to understand, is all under one roof. So we said quality, value, variety, service, lifestyle. We brought in all the 5 aspects under the all under one roof.
Let's take that. Quality,
value, variety, service, and lifestyle. And we brought all the 5 factors under the all under one roof. This is what we offer. It is not the all under one roof, we offer only products. These are all the 5 values, 5 factors we offer to you. You come and experience everything. What is my customer service? What is the variety that you are seeing which you cannot see anywhere? That is why from humble beginning, it has grown to East African big business today.
So it's not a shelf that you offer, it's an experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, Yao, let me come to you now. And the fact that you are this global brand that has heritage of centuries behind it, and operating in Africa, tell us about the African experience for Unilever And how does it compare with your operations in other parts of the world?
First of all, the African experience in Unilever dates way back. So we've been in Africa for more than a century. And there was a time when you spoke about Africa in a global context and global organizations felt fear right in their hearts. Unilever has never been in that context because there's always been a supply chain that was integrated into Unilever right from the very beginning. So very much like what my co-panelists have spoken about, for a business to be successful, fundamentally, the business has to have relevance for the community that it is operating in. And the brands that it offers, which in the end, the brand is always king. No matter what we say, in the end, the lever with which you connect with society is your brand. And if the brand is impacting society in a positive way and you have an economic model that enables you to make money from it, then you have a cycle going that ensures that you can have momentum going forward. So Unilever has always been about that. What are the solutions that our brands can offer? What are the points of view that our brands will take that engage with a larger society? And fundamental to Unilever's operation in Africa has always been a belief that businesses can do well by doing good. That businesses need to care about the communities in which they operate because we exist for the long term, not for the short term. The business players, the government, the entire ecosystem that is playing in the market must think more about how to increase the size of the pie rather than all of us scrambling, making the pie smaller and smaller, and we end up increasing transactional costs. I think that's the main difference between us and the developed world.
And I think this is what we're discussing today, really increasing the size of the pie. How do we then unlock the potential? What do you think? Give us 3 key things that you think African countries, governments, or people, businesses should be doing to unlock the potential.
The first thing is for us to try and simplify to governments what the benefits are of us as a private sector. Second is, after having done that, is to try and also get governments to get convinced to reduce the bureaucratic regulatory environment they've created in almost every industry. The other thing is, when you look at the map of Africa, I don't know how many of you have ever looked at the map of Africa and look at the size of it, not what the cartographers have done to our eyes, but the actual square kilometers. You look at the square kilometers of all the other continents. All the continents can fit into Africa, bar Australia. And that's a large landmass. And therefore, you need to be able to move from one end to the other very economically and freely. And the governments should start looking at all the bureaucracies around the borders and start freeing up the movement of goods and people around Africa.
Recently, in the month of May, there was a World Economic Forum, and people went, and the African Union, leaders, they meet there. You see, you don't look at only the political and other issues, you look at the economic issues. That is very critical, because the entire population of East Africa today, 130 million people, they are looking forward to this leader doing something on a long-term basis.
I think part of the underdevelopment of Africa has led us to believe that we can exist in some sort of autarky in the global reality. It is untrue. As the economies of North America and Europe retreat and they struggle for growth, the opportunity of Africa is obvious to everyone, regardless of what the challenges are, and the necessity for growth has led people to overcome the fears that they used to have. Africa will be globalized very quickly, and those of us who are operating here now better take global benchmarks and global standards and see that there is one world definition of excellence and head for it, or else what we tend to call the African standard and so on will kill us. And we will be referred to in history. New people will come and set new standards. And sometimes that's the baggage that the incumbent carries. Like people like Coke, like us, we've been successful in Africa. We think we have a formula. The world is changing so quickly around us. And if we are not careful, those who succeed you will be sitting here and having conversations about us as we used to be great, and we are no longer great. Yep.
Stay with the Africa Leadership Dialogues.
Leading on from the whole survival issue, because yes, too many Africans are in survival mode. You're simply trying to put food on the table. But we want to grow prosperous communities who can spend money on all the different products that are out there to offer, who can shop in Nakumatt, fly on Kenya Airways. Gentlemen, I want you to identify 3 key sectors, industry areas where you think the greatest potential can be unlocked.
We have a very rich resource base in Africa, I think uniquely placed in that regard. In terms of minerals, in terms of oil, we are very uniquely placed. And therefore, the opportunity for us is to do a lot more with those resources. We need to go into value addition because we extract and we export. We extract and we export. And sometimes we export and then we get it back in a lot more processed way. So really, this is a time to think about what can we do downstream, beyond extracting. What is it that we can do to add value to the resources that we have?
Titus, your thoughts. What are the key areas?
The key areas are, in fact, let me start off by what one talks about China. The first thing that hits you is so many Chinese in China, 1.2 billion. Then you come to India, so many Indians, about 1 billion.
Population growth?
Yes, yes. And people never talk about Africa as having close to 1 billion also, even though they may not have counted some in the forest. And to me, that is an opportunity. And when you look at Africa, first of all, there is a shortage of food in Africa. Yet we have a lot of valuable land. We have a lot of water. We've got rivers here that are flowing into the ocean. And I think there's an opportunity in the agribusiness. I say this because I've seen a lot of movements around Africa in terms of food and so forth. You wouldn't believe that sausages come out of Kenya and go into Ghana. And there are a lot of examples that are there. We're very lucky that around the Eastern African region, we are closer to the Middle East that is in need of food. So even before you say anything, there is a market out there. There's also a market, of course, within Africa. But what African governments need to do is to spend more money on research, on agriculture, to make sure that at least we're producing affordable food.
Market development is the big challenge of the future. Let's not make it complicated. What we should all try and do is to ensure that we get the quality of our products to world-class excellence by taking our transactional costs, that we improve the value equations, and we bring more and more people into our categories. That is going to be the biggest challenge that we have, and also the biggest opportunity. And if we can do it, we will continue to compete because that's in our DNA, but there will be space for all of us.
What's the role of women in unlocking potential on the African continent, and what is your organization doing about that?
I think women have a very important role in of course, unlocking the Africa opportunities, as Joseph had mentioned, and I will not repeat them. What are we doing in Kenya Airways? A lot of you may not perhaps realize that as I'm talking right now, Kenya Airways has the highest number of women pilots in the world.
Oh.
As an airline. And this was a deliberate move that we did. And we started off a program with the cooperative bank, which was not affirmative in a way. We allowed both young men and women to take loans, and we guaranteed the loans to go out and study to be trained as pilots. But we encouraged more girls to come in the last 10 years.
We have a very deliberate effort to grow women representation in our leadership team. So in our top leadership team at the moment, we have about 38% that is in the top leadership team. And we're deliberately growing the women leaders in order to represent 50% of our leadership team over the next 3 years or so. But it's not just about affirmative action. It is about capability, and it is about representation at the highest level of decisions by those who make decisions about buying. They make the critical decisions about spending. So they know the market. So we're deliberately growing them to be at that level to be able to participate in decision making about growing the business. And let me repeat, it's not about affirmative action. It's about capability.
If you stopped in Malawi, the president is a woman. And if you stopped in Liberia, the president is a woman. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Increasingly, you will find that beginning to happen. I also wanted to talk about, in my organization, when we go into the senior management meetings, the men are outnumbered. So my finance director, marketing director, HR director, country manager for Zimbabwe and more are all women. And my starting point is not to get too sensitive about the gender issue. Right. I think where you need to start from all the time is to say, for all the people who work in your organization, what are the barriers to advancement? And let's start to think about it as eliminating those barriers. I don't start at all. I think it's an extremely condescending approach to think that women cannot compete on a level playing field. They can not only compete, they can out-compete. But we have to understand what are some of the things that get in the way of career advancement. There may be some certain things that are traditional roles. A woman who is in a family may have some roles that she's playing, and what are the interventions that we can put in place so that they can continue to be successful in the roles that matter to them, but also be successful professional people.
Connecting with your consumer. And I mean, as someone in the Kenyan media, I can tell you one of the most powerful brands in this country is Safaricom. So, have you decoded the bottom of the pyramid, base of the pyramid?
We started by seeking to understand what are their challenges. The biggest challenge is disposable income. So they cannot really afford to tie up their money in an airtime voucher of 100 or 200 shillings. So they want to make the call, to be able to make the call when they want to make that call. So the decision was taken very quickly that we now have, low value airtime vouchers. And I can tell you that the biggest selling airtime vouchers now will be the 50 and the 20 shillings. Yeah? And now they can even buy a 5 shilling airtime voucher. And they can even transfer from their M-Pesa to their phones and use it as airtime. So it's really about understanding that particular segment. What challenges are they facing, and how can you address that challenge? And we also noted that the biggest barrier to entry is the cost of the device itself. Okay, so we've been working with the vendors to bring down the cost of devices. So now you can get, for less than 1,000 shillings, you can get a decent phone. Now, once they start using the phone, they want to go up the value chain. They want now smarter phones. And so now we're even working to bring down the cost of smartphones.
Please do.
And we feel that if we can crack the $50 barrier, so that will be about 4,000, 4,500 shillings. Again, a lot more people will be able to use to use smartphones.
Our biggest hurdle in the aviation industry is, again, the cost of infrastructure. If you look at the airports that are built or constructed by governments, they have no idea as to whether the users are going to afford them or not. What they do is they build them and transfer the cost to the users. And to us, you've got to meet that minimum cost in terms of covering that cost. So if we're able to get those costs down, then the rest can be brought down. And we are in fact looking at the bottom of the pyramid, maybe not the bottom completely, but somewhere, and we'll soon be unveiling something in this region.
Yeah, you have the final word. So
Africa's development efforts must address the need for Africa to become more of a law-based society. There is nothing else that we can do if you try to tackle infrastructure, whatever else, and the regime of laws that give stability and consistency to investors is not strong enough. Things like corruption, etc., will blight out the development efforts. So that is the issue. Land is a subset of that issue. If you tackle property rights, you have a more stable, law-based regime. And what is the key advice? I would like to take it from a strategic level. Yoweri Museveni likes to say the tallest pygmy is not necessarily a tall person. Africa, in its development efforts as it goes forward, must globalize its benchmarks. There is not such a thing as African excellence. There is one definition of excellence which is world-class, and in all that we do in Africa, we must aspire for that world-class excellence, or else the bus will leave us at the station.
Stay with the Africa Leadership Dialogues.
So clearly there's plenty of optimism about Africa, but we have numerous challenges as well. The most notable seem to be barriers to trade and barriers to the movement of goods and people across the continent. We hope policy shapers across Africa are listening. Now, at this point, we get to hear your views on the issues. This is how you can stay in touch.
To take part in our weekly hangouts, go to our G+ page, Africa Leadership Dialogues. On Facebook, Africa Leadership Dialogues. On Twitter, @AfricaLD.
This week we asked you, in your own view, what should be done to boost the many innovative ideas the African people have? Lawrence Crispus says, since innovators already have the ideas and an understanding of how to utilize them, funding and collaboration is the missing link. Nicholas Muramira says, regional incubation hubs should be set up comprised of people with different academia, but with each region tasked to handle a given sector where it has a competitive advantage. For example, Southern Africa can specialize in the automotive industry.
Time now for Africa's Top 10.
On today's Top 10 in Africa, we focus on the 10 most innovative companies in Africa. This is according to Forbes magazine. Coming in at number 10 is South Africa's Famous Brands. Famous Brands is Africa's leading quick service and casual restaurant company. It develops, operates, and franchises restaurants which prepare, package, and sell a menu of prized food items. At number 9 is East African Breweries from Kenya. It is East Africa's leading branded alcohol beverage business with an outstanding collection of brands that range from beer, spirits, and adult non-alcoholic drinks. Coming in at number 8 is South Africa's Pick n Pay, a preeminent fast-moving consumer goods retailer which boasts of a portfolio of 450 stores in South Africa, Zambia, Mauritius, and Mozambique, and a staff strength of 45,000 people. Ranking at number 7 is Woolworths, one of South Africa's largest retailers. Woolworths sells everything from food and clothing to homeware and electronics. The retail giant is also an emerging player in South Africa's financial services scene. Through a joint venture with Absa Bank, Woolworths offers financial services such as loans, debit cards, and home insurance solutions to its customers. Woolworths also manufactures its own brand of everything from sliced bread to grape juices and ice cream. At number 6 is Iroko TV in Nigeria. Although it did not invent Nollywood, Nigeria's immensely popular movie industry, the Nigerian-based company helped revolutionize and glamorize it. Iroko TV, which has also been dubbed the Netflix of Africa, is the world's largest digital distributor of African movies. Leveraging on a demand TV platform, Nollywood lovers around the world can watch the latest Nigerian movies by paying a fee of $5 a month. Zimbabwe's own Econet comes in at number 5. The dominant mobile telecommunications company boasts lucrative operations in Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho, Burundi, and Rwanda, and even owns a 3G license in New Zealand. Econet is currently looking to build Africa's largest solar power company, the Econet Power Station. At number 4 is another South African company, MTN. In 2011, MTN introduced its mobile money insurance solution, My Life Insurance, which provides money in the event of death of the subscriber or the next of kin. MTN also wins innovation points for its MTN Internet on TV. At number 3 is Kenya's Nation Media Group, which was founded by His Highness the Aga Khan IV in 1959. It has since become the largest independent media house in Eastern Central Africa, with offices in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Coming in at number 2 is Nando's, located in South Africa. Since opening its first restaurant in 1987, Nando's has expanded to over 1,000 locations in 30 countries in 5 continents. Its success secrets may well lie in its marketing, Nando's numerous provocative yet witty commercials. And claiming the top spot on the list of Africa's most innovative companies is Safaricom Limited, located in Kenya. It is the largest mobile telecommunications company in East Africa. Safaricom's popular service is their M-Pesa service, Africa's first mobile phone-based money transfer and microfinancing service. M-Pesa, M for mobile, and Pesa, a Swahili word for money, was launched in 2007. It is currently the most developed mobile payment system in the developing world. That is Africa's top 10.
Now we close the show tonight with a quote from Africa's $20 billion man. That's what they call him, Aliko Dangote of Nigeria. And he said, "If you give me $5 million today, I will invest everything here in Nigeria. Let us put our heads together and work." So where are you putting your greatest investments? Is it in the African continent? Perhaps we should all be asking ourselves that question. I'm Julie Gichuru. It's been an absolute pleasure. See you again next week. Blessings to you and blessings to Africa.